All right, on this Wii Sports special, Super Bowl weekend, gotta bring on someone who actually attended a Super Bowl. He is Jeff Gold. He is an editor at MLB.com. And also, am I correct in saying, Jeff, a lifelong New York Giants fan?
That is correct. I've been a Giants fan. I can remember my first Giants memory is basically when they won their first Super Bowl when I was about 5 years old, a little over 5, in January of 1987.
Mm-hmm.
21 beating the Denver Broncos and John Elway, and that's probably my first memory that's pretty vivid as a Giants fan. But I've been a diehard fan since then.
It's funny, and of course, we'll get into your experience going to Super Bowl 46, but I feel like the Giants, every one of their Super Bowl wins is just epic. Like when you think of 87, you think of 30 years ago, 1990, wide right. Of course, the Tyree helmet catch, and then the one that you went to, the Mario Manningham sideline catch. So the fan of the franchise that you are, of the New York Giants, you picked a good franchise to root for.
It's totally true. They've been an incredibly opportunistic franchise in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game. They are 9-1 lifetime, and their championship game victories have been pretty epic as well. The '86 team was a great team. They did not have to sweat them out, but the '90 team had a last-second field goal go their way to make it to the Super Bowl. And then a last-second field goal that did not go in that won the Super Bowl. And the Tyree year, the Super Bowl 42, they beat Green Bay in overtime to get to the Super Bowl.
Lawrence Tynes.
And then in 40, and then obviously they had the unbelievable victory over the Patriots with the helmet catch. And then the year that we're talking about, the 2011 season, they had an absolutely epic championship game victory again in overtime, which I would argue was the greatest game Eli Manning ever played in San Francisco. And then their Super Bowl victories have been, they won by 1 point in 25. They won by 3 points in 42. They won by 4 points in 46. So all of them have been incredible.
The pouring rain of Candlestick Park was that NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers.
You're right.
I remember it well. So, look, Jeff, I mean, a lot of my listeners would love the opportunity to attend a Super Bowl. Of course, those tickets are very scarce, very expensive. How did you end up securing a pair of tickets to Super Bowl 46?
Paid. It's funny. Many people are poo-poo the experience of going to the Super Bowl. If you talk to a lot of people, like, if your team's in it, don't go. It's better to watch the game on television. It's not going to be worth it. You're going to be, not going to have a great seat. And there's an element of truth to that. But you're also taking a risk that if your team doesn't win, you've potentially wasted a lot of money on an experience that you'd otherwise like to forget. That being said, it was truly just a great decision, obviously, with the thrilling victory, making it, obviously something that you just never forget. But, it was a good time in my life at that point. I wasn't married. I didn't have any kids. And my dad and I just always talked about, we had sort of considered wanting to go in 42. And we just decided not to do it. And then in 46, we just decided, you know what? It's let's give it a chance. And they've got a legitimate chance to win this game. I think part of why we didn't do it in 42 was, truth be told, we thought they were going to get killed. Then in 46, it was like, okay, now's the time. And we just decided, let's do it. We bought the tickets online, and away we went.
So when did you get to Indianapolis? Did you spend the whole week there? And before you answer, okay.
That's a great question because, the tickets are expensive. So you're sort of looking for ways to mitigate the cost of the trip.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is that my father and I flew and stayed in Chicago. The day of the game, we drove from Chicago to Indianapolis, which is about like a 3-hour or so drive.
Yep.
It just flies by. you can't sleep the night before. It's just a once in a lifetime experience. You get up, you're just ready to go. We just drove from Chicago to Indy, got there sort of probably, I would say, around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you're just sort of staring at the clock, waiting for, how early can you enter the stadium? We probably got into Lucas Oil at around 3 p.m. maybe. I mean, we were there so early for that game that I can remember the players walking onto the field, sort of doing a walkthrough before they had even gotten into, not even their uniforms for warm-up, but I just mean like their warm-up clothes. Like they're in suits walking around the stadium, just sort of, scoping out the place. And I'll never forget it. You just remember these moments. But I remember Lawrence Tynes just sort of walking around the field. And I believe Al Michaels was just, you're just so in tune with everything that you're looking. And Al Michaels was just sort of chatting him up for a long time before the game. And I remember saying to my father, will he just let him go? There's a big game here. Stop just chatting. Let him go, Al. He's got to get ready for the game. And this is probably a 3:30 before a 6:30 game. But, you just are sort of there watching the whole crowd file in. It's a weird experience because you have no idea if you're going to be sitting next to fans that are rooting for your team or the other team, or just some sort of random business person that happens to be there. Who I do remember sitting next to people that were from Texas that were just on a business trip enjoying the game. So it's a bizarre experience, but truly an unforgettable one.
Yeah, I mean, I covered Super Bowl 53 as a member of the media, and a snoozer game, by the way. I still have the pennant up here. It was the Rams and the Patriots. Yeah. But, and I got there around 4 hours in advance to kick off. And I'll never forget the feeling after going through airport security. It felt like to get into the stadium, which was Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. But I'll never forget the feeling of just walking on the concourse, seeing the field for the first time, and being like, damn, I'm at the Super Bowl. This is an event that I would watch with my parents growing up, and now I'm here at the actual game. So I feel like, look, and you mentioned it earlier, how, people get this sort of perception of the Super Bowl. It's corporate. It's too big. It doesn't maybe have that atmosphere like a conference championship game. But if that's the one event I could go to the rest of my life, I would take it because it's still a historical event. It means so much to the United States. And I think it does have an atmosphere to it that's unlike any sporting event in the sporting calendar.
It is surreal. It's everything that people say about it is sort of true. That being said, if you can go once, you gotta go. If you get that chance to go one time, you should do it.
And Jeff, so where were you sitting in the stadium? If you could give the listeners an idea of where you were sitting.
We were sitting on around the 20 to 25 yard line on the side of the field where the Hail Mary landed. So that side of the field, and I as I would describe it, the opposite side of the field from where Manningham caught the ball.
Okay.
So that was like Eli threw that ball on the side of the field that we were sitting on, but toward the opposite sideline, kind of away from us, on about the 25-yard line. He tossed the ball from about his own 10 to about the 45, if I recall. And that, yeah. There's a play in that game that was an important play that sort of happened right in front of where I was sitting, which was the Chase Blackburn interception.
Yes.
For the end of the third quarter, the start of the fourth quarter. That's about right where we were sitting. Interesting.
And you mentioned how, you were sitting with people from Texas. What was the crowd like? Because obviously some people get that perception, well, it's a corporate crowd. The Super Bowl I was at was definitely dominated by Patriots fans, so it was very loud in there. I'm just sort of curious what your thoughts were given these two historic franchises.
The crowd was dominated by Giants fans, but it isn't like, even if it's dominated by Giants fans, there's still a Patriots presence there.
Yeah.
When they play, you're not going to feel like the crowd is demoralized. That being said, I would say it was probably 2/3 Giants fans. And after the game, when everyone's just going crazy, next thing I knew, Jim Burt, the great
Yeah.
tackle from the first Giants Super Bowl, was about 3 feet away from me, just hugging Giant fans. I mean, you're identifying who you are by the way you're dressed.
Of course.
And it's Jim Burt. Who knew?
What jersey did you and your father sport?
I was wearing a Jesse Armstead jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, it's just so hot in there. And then I think I was wearing under it a Justin Tuck sort of like T-shirt, like what people like to call a jersey. And my father just had like a Giants, just a regular blue shirt. I think it might have been a shirt from his, a funny shirt from when he had turned 60 years old that might have said like Giants 60 and his name on the back. I can't exactly remember, but I remember it was sort of a funny shirt.
It's funny how this game, because I remember the game pretty well. I mean, going into it, it's of course sort of the rematch, pegged as the rematch after Super Bowl 42. The Patriots are up 10-9 at the half, but I always felt like this Giants team just felt like a team of destiny. When you think of back in the regular season, they were 6-6 at one point, end up going 9-7, and just the journey they were on to get to the Super Bowl. It just felt like, look, this team. There's something about this team and there's something about that defense once again. And, of course, Jason Pierre-Paul was in that Super Bowl. He's playing on Sunday for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Incredible.
Just how impressed were you with that defense? Because I think that was the real story that of that team.
That was a good team. It was not a great team.
Yeah.
None of the Giant teams that have won the Super Bowl have been great teams, with the exception of probably the first one.
Yeah.
They've been teams, as I've said, that have been great when they needed to be, but were never really great teams. They've had great players, obviously. Lawrence Taylor was a great player.
Of course.
I would argue that Strahan and Tuck were great players, and Jason Pierre-Paul was a great player. And then, you can sort of get into, was Victor Cruz a great player? Was Eli Manning a great player? At times they were. But, it's funny when you say like a team of destiny, when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about anything like that.
Yeah.
Every play that goes your way feels like relief.
Yep.
And every play that doesn't go your way, you're just angry. Like you're just like you feel like it's against you. Just sort of are thinking the worst. There was a huge play in that game. If you remember, the Giants were sort of in control at the start of that game. I believe they were winning 9-3. They had a safety and a touchdown to get 9-0, and then it became 9-3, and they were driving. They had a 3rd and 1, just sort of going down the field. That got called back for holding. And when you're in the crowd, like you have no idea whether a holding call is a legitimate call or not. And I just remember texting people like, "Is that a legitimate call or not?" A soft call. Came 3rd and 11. They punted. Patriots, next thing you know, are up 10-9. Giants have really played well in that half. It felt really unfortunate that they were down a point. You're saying team of destiny. You're not thinking that way. You're thinking, I don't know. I'm not really a confident sports fan.
Fair enough.
It's not the way, like, I'm not really an optimist when it comes to my teams. I'm a big fan, but I'm not really expecting the win. And at 10-9, I'm just thinking, came to the Super Bowl, played a pretty good half, losing, not going, well, I'm not thinking this is a team of destiny. And then the second half, they're down 17-9 before you even realize it. And I'm like, wow, this is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Then
no. It turned around. And I think one of the key plays that occurred, well, it didn't happen for the Pats, was that dropped pass by Wes Welker. I mean, it was wide open. And then you're starting to think, okay, maybe this may be the Giants' day. I mean, because if Welker makes that catch, probably seals the game for the Patriots.
If Welker makes that catch, I would say the Patriots are winning the game 95% of the time.
Yeah. I mean, obviously things can happen, right?
I think he makes that catch 95% of the time. That play happened on 2nd down. He makes that play. First of all, they're 1 first down away from ending the game.
Yeah.
So start there. They get 1 more first down, the game is over. They don't get one more first down. You have to assume they're kicking a field goal. Now all of a sudden they're up 5 instead of up 2 with maybe you're getting the ball back at around the 2-minute warning. That's if you stop them 3 and out. Other than the Manningham, you could make the argument it's the biggest play of the game, even bigger than the Manningham catch. Manningham doesn't make that play. It's 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
Okay. 2nd and 10 with 3.5 minutes to go. The Giants are still in decent shape to win the game. Welker makes that catch. The game is effectively over. It's one of the biggest plays in Super Bowl history. Obviously thrilled he dropped the ball. I think that pass was a pretty good pass. It wasn't perfect, but I think Welker should have made that catch.
Let's get to that Manningham catch. When it happens, yeah. I mean, just what's going through your mind, what's going through the stadium, and where does it rank, I guess? I mean, Giants fans well. I mean, it's probably that catch and David Tyree, I'm assuming, are two the best catches in franchise history.
Yeah. In terms of Tyree's number 1, in terms of what's number 2, in terms of the actual catch itself, it's the Manningham catch.
Yeah.
The other play that was just unbelievably significant in Giant history that Giant fans will never forget is a play that Mark Ingram made in Super Bowl 25.
Yep.
On a key down when he caught the ball about 7 yards short of the first down and made about 4 defenders miss, got the first down.
Of course.
Giants, that's their epic drive to open the second half of Super Bowl 25. The Manningham catch was the first play, I'm almost positive, of the game-winning drive.
Yeah.
So you're just sort of like, it's funny, I'm always of the mindset that when a team has the ball down 2 points or 1 point and they're in 4-down territory, which the Giants were at that point, that you should basically just be throwing very short passes because you've got 4 downs to work with. Time wasn't really a factor. Just sort of take the 5 yards, take the 6 yards, move the ball down the field, hope that Lawrence Tynes will touch and kick a field goal on the last play of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Eli's back there chucking the ball 35 yards. Greatest throw of his career.
Yep.
Show the replay. Belichick challenged it, but everyone in the stadium knew it was good. And then at that point, you're really thinking, wow, this is going to come down to Lawrence Tynes. I hope he's ready to make a game winner, but as it turned out, they scored a touchdown, so it didn't come down to that.
Well, the Ahmad Bradshaw, he's like, wanting to, go down, and then he falls into the end zone. What were you thinking at that point?
Huge mistake.
Yeah.
A mistake. Was not happy.
Well, you're giving TB12 a lot of time left on the clock.
That was a huge mistake. In 2012, I don't think people quite realized how enormous a mistake, how big of a mistake it was.
Yeah.
In 2021, that would not happen.
No.
People would play it sort of a little bit more cute and successfully fall down at the 2-yard line. The thing that's so interesting about that is Belichick obviously instructed the Patriots to let him score.
Yep.
Which was correct. But Bill Belichick, the greatest coach in NFL history, did not realize that he should let him score until after he burned a timeout.
Yeah.
He waited for timeout after first down and then decided to let him score. The Patriots have that timeout, one extra timeout on their drive. You never know. The last play of that game might not be a Hail Mary. It might be a little bit closer, or sort of a more normal, sort of a more standard play.
Yep.
People have learned a little bit, if the Giants had decided not to score, they would have been kicking a field goal. I'd have to do the math, but I think they would have been kicking the field goal with around 20 seconds to go. Certainly would have been a better situation. I'd rather roll the dice that you're going to make the field goal with 20 seconds to go than give Tom Brady the ball. I believe he got it with 57 seconds to go and 1 timeout, down 4. Better situation for the Patriots. They were right to let him score. Bradshaw was wrong to score, but luckily it didn't matter from a Giants fan perspective.
So the Hail Mary doesn't get converted. The Giants are Super Bowl champions. I mean, you have seen that team win a Super Bowl, but the fact that you're there with your dad, I know that you're not an optimistic Giants fan like you just said, but boy, that must have been an emotional moment.
You know, it's funny. On that drive, it had started so well for the Giants. Brady threw an incompletion on first down. He threw an incompletion on second down. Got sacked on third down by Justin Tuck. So that's 4th and 16 to win the Super Bowl. You're feeling good at that point. When it's 4th and 16, even if they make it in bounds, I think they had one. I'm trying to think. I think they had either no timeouts or maybe one. I don't think they had a timeout because they had to call the timeout after the Tuck sack. So even if they make the first down in bounds, clock's going to be a factor. Instead, Brady, just unbelievable. He escapes, throws the ball to Deion Branch for the first down and out of bounds. At that point, I'm convinced they're going to lose the game. Wow, the Giants were 4th and 16 to win the Super Bowl. This is just going to be the most devastating loss ever. When he hit 16, I was just convinced that Tom Brady was going to do it. And you know, there are just those moments you remember your whole life. I remember turning to my dad before the Hail Mary, and I said, "It's one play from the they need one play from the 50. I think it was like their own 45 to win the Super Bowl." I said, "If he completes this, I said I'm never going to recover." I said, "I don't even know." Yeah. And then, like anybody, when you're watching a Hail Mary, the first thing is like when he lets the ball go, you just start thinking it's not too short and it's not too long. It was a perfect Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Watching that ball, it was toward the end zone where the side of the field that I was sitting at. That ball, that play felt like an eternity. And you see the ball hit the ground, and then like any fan, you're just looking for flags.
Yeah.
And I'm just scanning the field, and then you finally, maybe 5 seconds later, which feels like 10 minutes, you're just totally feeling a state of euphoria. And you're just hugging strangers. You can't believe it. And I just remember just saying they did it again. They did it again. Like just the idea that they beat the Patriots again. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I did not think they won the game. I just didn't think they were going to. I thought they had a good chance, but part of me was just maybe you're just mentally preparing for disappointment. But I never got myself into that feeling. In a weird way, I would say I felt more confident. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I would say in a weird way, I almost felt more confident that they were going to win the game when they were winning 9-0 early in the first quarter, sort of really looking in control of the game. I was like, wow, this is okay. Than I did before Hail Mary. Because then it only comes down to this play. There's no opportunity to come back. It's not going to happen. But you know, of course, the math tells you it is, and you just feel so elated.
Yeah.
I think about that moment. Honestly, it's 9 years later. I still think about that moment all the time. When the highlights come this time of year, I can't turn away. It's truly something you never forget.
So it is 9 years later, and Tom Brady's in his 10th Super Bowl, taking on Patrick Mahomes. Any thoughts on Super Bowl 55?
You know, it's weird. Tom Brady's the greatest player ever.
Yeah.
He's, in the unquestioned GOAT, as everyone likes to say. I actually think he's an underrated player.
Yeah.
In fact, he's never talked about in the same breath as Jordan, with Ruth, with Gretzky. He's just not. Most people, who's the greatest player in NFL history? Tom Brady's not going to be the automatic response the way people would in the other sports.
Mm-hmm.
That said, Patrick Mahomes is the greatest player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is that career of anyone in history, and I think he is underrated. But there is nobody like Mahomes. I just think the Chiefs at this point are sort of unstoppable, and I think the Chiefs are going to win the game. We'll see if I'm right.
We'll definitely see. Last question for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
For any of my listeners, like, interested in going to a Super Bowl, like, what sort of a piece of advice you'd give to them just in terms of like how to enjoy the experience, how to make sure they're not scammed I mean, because that's sometimes an issue with tickets. I mean, just your thoughts on from an experience that if you went going and really having the time of your life.
Well, I can't say anything about not getting scammed. I think that places online are pretty reputable. You know, you obviously have to do your homework as far as that's concerned. I think that if you want to save some money, because it's obviously an expensive proposition to go, I think what my father and I did of not paying the hiked up prices in the city, not paying the hiked up prices of, you know, every place is looking to you know, take advantage of the situation, from the hotels to the restaurants to everything. That, you know, this Super Bowl tomorrow, for example, I mean, obviously everything's crazy with the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to the Super Bowl tomorrow in Tampa, you don't need to stay in Tampa.
Yeah.
In Orlando, stay in, you know, a different Florida city that's 3 hours away. You're going with friends. You're going with family. That time is going to fly by like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Drive 3 hours the day of the game. It's not a big deal. You don't need to be staying in the hub city unless you're sort of there for, you know, I was there to go to the game.
Yeah.
All the other stuff meant nothing to me. I mean, it was enjoyable, but it was honestly, it wasn't like I was there for the weekend experience. I was there for the game.
Yeah.
The moment we got into Indianapolis, I wanted to just get into the stadium and sit there.
Yeah.
Walk around and talk to people like, oh, where are you from? Are you a Giant fan? How'd you become a Giant fan? I wasn't interested. I was there with my dad. We wanted to just go get in the stadium and, in a way, almost like get in your own pregame mode. So my advice would be, to your listeners, if they're considering going to a Super Bowl, first of all, I would encourage it. I would sort of, I would ignore the people that say, oh, it's better to stay home. I mean, go when your team is in it. I wouldn't spend, you know, a lot of money just to go to say you win. But sometimes, you know, the great thing about experiences, you don't just get the experience, you get the rest of your life to remember them.
Yeah.
And, you know, thinking and reminiscing about that trip, going to Chicago and driving to the game and driving back afterward. Of course, if they had lost the game, you and I wouldn't probably be talking about this. I would say, oh, it's a complete waste of money. Don't do it. It's a 50% chance that it's going to be a completely forgettable experience. But what can you do? I would encourage your listeners to do it. And there are creative ways to sort of make it a slightly more economical approach.
Jeff Gold is an editor of MLB.com, but most importantly, he is a lifelong New York Giants fan. He went to Super Bowl 46, provided really some great perspective on the game. I mean, it's been a week full of just reminiscing memories, so it's great to have you on, Jeff, and enjoy Super Bowl 55. It should be a good one.
I'm looking forward to the game. It's been a weird year.
Yeah.
Just for anything more from the end of the year than seeing Mahomes and Brady. Tom Brady's first Super Bowl I was a junior in college.
Jeez.
I'm now about to turn 40.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes, when I was in college, his father was pitching for the New York Mets in play.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Take care, Jeff.